Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about Andrew Yang and who Andrew Yang should choose right away as his running candidate for the 2020 presidential primary election race, right? So, and who would be his vice president. So these would be his vice president. So I'm going to give the top 3 picks on who Andrew Yang should choose as his vice president. Excuse me. All right, so basically, I'll start, right? So I think the number 1 pick on who Andrew Yang should choose as his vice presidential candidate, and then I'll tell you why that person should be chosen, is specifically Tulsi Gabbard. Now, why should Andrew Yang choose Tulsi Gabbard as his VP selection, vice presidential selection? Well, the biggest thing is, basically, I think Tulsi Gabbard as a candidate is associated with something likable, which makes her likable. And so I'll explain that. So one, I want to say right out of the gate, it's not that Tulsi Gabbard isn't likable. It is my opinion that every single one of the 15 U.S. presidential Democrat primary candidates are unlikable. And the reason why is they're all achievers, right? So I have this unusual theory. I'll give it to you now. It is my opinion that all achievers, genuine achievers, people who have actually achieved significant things in life are unlikable, right? And the reason why is if you achieve something significant, you darn well had to shove somebody out of the way to get there. You had to make sure that somebody loses, right? Everybody loves that win-win, and here's the thing. Win-win happens, right? But the more significant your achievement is, the less likely you are to have a win-win situation. The vast majority, and the reason why is, the reason win-win doesn't happen too often is it's easy. If win-win, and basically things that are easy get done quickly, and they get done early, right? And right now in our society, we're absolutely in an economy of abundance, right? All the easy stuff's done. The only thing that's left to accomplish is hard stuff, right? And that is win-lose, right? And so that's the thing is every single one of the 15 U.S. presidential Democrat primary candidates, they are all, right? They're all achievers. They've actually done, every single one of them has done something of significance. In order to get there, they had to do a win-lose. They made some people win and they made some people lose, right? And when you make somebody lose, they don't like you for it, right? And you have to put on some personal armor. You have to make hard choices, right? And that's the issue. And Tulsi Gabbard's she's just like everybody else, right? So what makes Tulsi Gabbard likable? Hawaii is the greatest, most likable, most joyful thing about America, right? And Tulsi is just like, she is organically connected to surfing, flowers, vibrant colors, right? Those are the best, most joyful, most awesome things about Hawaii, and Tulsi Gabbard is organically connected to Hawaii, right? So, and the thing is, I think, her non-interventionism is the absolute worst thing about Tulsi Gabbard. It brings absolutely no voters, and she's very passionate about it. And so I think she is a absolute rock star candidate if she had good policies, but she doesn't. She has policies that make people cringe. She has policies that scream out, I'm gonna dismantle multiple industries. She has policies that the vast majority of people do not like, right? And so she's a very principled person, and I love that she has these policies, but they're really bad as far as attracting voters. But I think Hawaii attracts voters, surfing attracts voters, flowers attract voters, vibrant colors attract voters, right? She is attached to something that is likable more than any other candidate, right? I think Tulsi Gabbard is a likable candidate because she's associated with something likable, right? So, number 1 pick as Andrew Yang's VP is Tulsi Gabbard. Number 2 pick is Bernie Sanders. All right, why on earth would Andrew Yang choose Bernie Sanders as his VP, as his vice president? Right, here you go. There's absolutely no good reason in the world that Andrew Yang would pick Bernie Sanders as his vice president candidate to aid Andrew Yang. I actually think Bernie Sanders would bring nothing to the table to aid Bernie Sanders. So why would Andrew Yang choose Bernie Sanders as VC president? As a thank you. He would do it not to serve himself, but to serve the wounded Sandys. All right, now what's a wounded Sandy? All right, so in 2016, I'm going to explain what a wounded Sandy is. It's my term, right? So I think the wounded Sandys are the people in 2016 who did the hard work of getting Bernie to be a household name, right, and got him to a hair's breadth away from beating Hillary Clinton to be the general election candidate against Donald Trump, right? Now, let me be clear. I don't think Bernie Sanders had a hope in Hades of beating Donald Trump. No way, right? So, but here's the thing. What the wounded Sandys, the people who were genuinely wounded by their work in 2016 by the Democrat Party, right? See, that's the thing. I think the reason what happened with Bernie in 2016 is that the Democrats did not do right by Bernie Sanders. Now, I don't think there was any foul play. I don't think anything they did was immoral, right? And I even don't think it was unethical. But I think what happened with Bernie Sanders was that the Democrat Party chose to not do things for Bernie that they could have done for Bernie that stifled the voice of the people, right? And I think the actions of the Democrat Party today, how much more inclusive they're being for all the candidates, making sure that the bar to get into the debate is lower, and staying out of the way of the voice of the people, is saying that the Democrat Party is saying, we're not admitting to being immoral, we're not admitting to being unethical, but we are taking our ethical standard right now and raising it. And we're getting out of the way of the voice of the people, the voice of the Democrat people, right? So that's the issue. Is I think the Democrat Party did not do right by Bernie Sanders in 2016. They really stifled his followers. They really muffled them so they couldn't be heard, and it was unfair. I don't think there was anything legally. I don't think there was anything legally wrong that was done. I think it was just politics, and Bernie got beat, and Bernie should have owned that problem and should have defeated that problem on his own, right? If you want to play in the big game, you can't whine if some kind of problem comes up and you're not strong enough to own it and defeat it, and he wasn't. Period. Right? So why should Andrew Yang take Bernie Sanders as his VP? To say thank you to all the wounded Sandys who actually did the work of making it so that the Democrat Party was actually ready for radical solutions. And guess what? UBI is a radical solution. And the road we are driving on today, right, on UBI, was paved by the wounded Sandys, right? So if Andrew Yang took Bernie Sanders as his VP, it would be a genuine thank you to all those people who did a lot of good work to make it possible for Andrew Yang to have the traction he has today. Excuse me. So that's my take. And so I think it would be a good idea. It would be a big thank you. And even beyond that, I think Andrew Yang has enough slack in what needs to be done and is strong enough candidate to actually give a thank you to those wounded Sandys and give a thank you to the Democrat Party and kind of set some things that were wrong right. And that's another thing that great candidates do is they take problems that they never created, right, and they fix them. That is the sign of a true leader. When a leader is stepping forward and fixing problems they didn't even create, right, making right situations that they didn't make wrong, right? And I think Andrew Yang is exactly that kind of guy. He's exactly that kind of candidate that can come forward and do that kind of work. And I'm really excited about him. And I think it'd be okay to choose Bernie Sanders as your VP, just to say thank you to those wounded Sandys and to set things right a little for them, right? Okay, all right, because we're enjoying a lot of the I think Andrew Yang's followers are really enjoying, supporters, a better word, is really enjoying a lot of play and a lot of setup that Bernie's wounded Sandys did. All right, okay. Who is the last of the three candidates of who should be considered? And by the way, they are in this order. Like Tulsi's the best, Bernie is the second, and the third is the third, like the least, I think the least beneficial to Andrew Yang, right? Okay, and as far as helping him. All right, so here, or actually, as far as the value of the VP candidate, that's a better way of saying it, because Bernie's not going to help him. There, Andrew Yang is going to be helping the wounded Sandys. All right, so the last and final VP selection for Andrew Yang is Pete Buttigieg. All right. So why would Andrew Yang choose Pete Buttigieg as his VP candidate? Here's why: the media loves Pete Buttigieg. Right. So I've been definitely paying a lot of attention, and like one of the things is like when you are so I never in my life do I turn on Fox News or CNBC or any of that like stuff, right? I get my news from individual sources. Like, well, one, I really like a lot of the coverage that's on YouTube, and I like a lot of I like people who are genuine and honest, right? And you kind of know that, okay, I like people who are removed from a distinct corporate influence, right? Those are the people I like to follow, right? And I'm still building I think my central source of news, right? And when I'm on those sites, these smaller independent sites, right? People talk about Tulsi Gabbard a lot, right? People talk about Bernie a lot. Nobody's talking from where in the areas I'm looking about. Nobody's talking about Pete Buttigieg. However, every time I get close to any type of a corporate media source, they absolutely love Pete Buttigieg. And the benefit of that is you get a lot of camera time, you get a lot of coverage, you get a lot of viewers, right? A lot of shine. So if you get Pete Buttigieg as your VP, you're going to get a ton of incredibly goodwill-infused coverage from corporate media, right? That's a fact, right? And Pete Buttigieg has done a great job of winning cameras and controlling cameras. He really has, right? And I think his profile is much, much larger with the media than it actually is with the people, right? I actually think that Pete Buttigieg is an absolute lock to control 2 to 3% of all the votes in America, right? But when you listen to the media, he's controlling 20 or 30%, right? And so, but that's not a small thing. Perception is huge, especially in the election race. And I really think that what Pete Buttigieg would bring Andrew Yang is a ton of goodwill and with the media and a ton of media coverage, and that is important at this stage. Very, very important. So, so those are my three picks. Those are the people I think Andrew Yang would be the best off to choose as his VP candidate. I'd love to hear your opinion. What do you think? Who do you think he should choose as his vice president? Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.